So this morning, I just thought I'd do a video because something's on my mind and I just need to let it out. And I know I'm going to do a broadcast today. I think I'm gonna go to a park or something. Or the track. I was thinking about the track and walking around the track and like doing a broadcast. Um, and I'm going to go ahead and start my podcast today too. And I had a really cool breakthrough in prayer this morning, and I'm I'm amazed by it, overwhelmed really, because God is good, and it's amazing that when you go to God, you must go to Him in spirit and in truth. And so yesterday and Saturday, He had me in His Word. So um, the word that He took me to was First Kings 10, chapter 10 and chapter 11, and Isaiah chapter 10 and chapter 11. And so the cool thing about the First Kings 10, it was talking about, in the beginning of it, it was talking about Solomon and how rich and famous he became after he asked God for wisdom. And so in the 10th chapter, it begins and it talks about Solomon's riches and his wisdom, right? And so the Queen Sheba heard about Solomon, his riches and his wisdom, and she went to seek him. She went to go basically interview him to see for herself if this were true, what she heard. And she said she hadn't even heard the half of the truth of how he was when she seen the way his servants served him and the way that he served God. She was amazed. And she gave him spices and gold, and they set up basically this trade route. And so he made money off of the gold, the silver. He made money off of the spices, off the merchants of the spices, as well as the traffickers with the spices. So basically, the distribution. He was like a distribution. He had a distribution center or some distribution centers. Amazed, his wealth was just so much greater than any king before him, and none after him has been this wealthy. Like, this is a real interesting story. And so she parted. He gave her whatever she asked for, and then she parted and went to her own house, her own land, her own people. She went back home. And I thought, wow, that's pretty interesting that two rich people, like he was the king, she was the queen. He's King Solomon, she's Queen of Sheba. And she's amazed by him and his wisdom and his wealth, and then she goes home. That's what the story says. It's like she give him some stuff and he give her some stuff, and then she goes home. They create this business though. It's enterprise. So it talks about like how he prospered in this business enterprise with the spices that she brought in, and the gold, and also the algum trees, right? And so they brought that into for the temple. And then I haven't researched the algum tree. I haven't gotten that far into my research. But then it goes on to say that Solomon had 700 wives and 300 concubines, and that is where his downfall. This is like where it starts talking about his downfall. His downfall were women. All his wives turned him against God, turned him from serving God wholeheartedly into accepting the worship of the gods of his wives. And so for that, God took the kingdom from Solomon, but not from Solomon itself, but he let him know that the kingdom was going to be taken from him through his son after him. And Solomon got very angry with the prophet that came with this information. But the prophet was from God, and God told the prophet this information to go tell the information to Solomon. Uh, so I read that, and then I'm also thinking about Miss Haley and how funny she is, and how we just laugh and laugh and laugh, and I really enjoy that laughter. It's like I needed that laughter. And even all the conversations and all the stories that she tells me, it's just like I'm so amazed. It's the kind of wisdom that I've always needed. And so in the days past last week, since I left Miss Haley's house, I went like on Thursday. And I took them some tea or some lemonade, this little concoction I make. It's herbal, natural, good for you, clean systems out. So she gave me $10 for this jug of tea that I brought, this lemonade, and I just pray that their bodies are blessed with everybody. So yeah. So all weekend I had a lot of time to think, and I just began to think about how I must disconnect from this family connection that I have with my blood immediates.